Hey guys, how are you doing? This video is for FRM candidates. The we are going to talk about some last minute tips before you go and take your exams in a couple of days. Your time is very critical, so I'm going to keep the video short and directly hit the point. So I've broken down my discussion on three components. We're going to discuss what needs to be done before the exams, on the day, and after. So all right, let's get started. Before. Now, today is 16th, your exam is on 18th, so you technically are left with one day in between. Assuming you get a chance to see this video today or even tomorrow morning, what I'll recommend is you spend time revising the concept, and of course, that's a no brainer. You're saying, okay, what's new there? So, what to revise? So, revise everything that you are comfortable with. Revise the formulas that you know well, revise the concepts. If you have juice notes, go through them. Do not do anything new on the last day. So let's assume that there are five readings that you've not been able to touch. It makes sense for you to spend time on the remaining readings that you have already covered and revise them rather than learning anything new. So don't do anything new now, just focus on what you already know and keep on revising. There are going to be 100 questions. Okay, so those five readings, three readings that you have not been able to cover, just let them go and revise. Second, very important is sleep well a day before the exam. I see this like every year now. I've been teaching for FRM course for quite some time, and a lot of my students come and tell me that we very proudly we are planning to do an all-nighter before the exam because it worked well in their engineering exams. Will not work here. See, it's an exam that's going to make you think a lot between that 8 to 12 time window. So it's important that you sleep properly. So no matter what, keep close your books around 8:30, 9 p.m. a day before, and then that's it. Just get up in the morning next day and reach on your exam center. Okay, so that's the general discussion on before. Now on the day, couple of important observations. Reach on time. Your exam precisely starts at 8. Ideally, you should be able to reach by 7. Now, in Pune, Mumbai, at least these two locations that I'm aware of, the exam center are fairly outside the city. Okay, so calculate your time well. There's a probability it may rain on that day, something may change. So make sure you reach on time. If you're late, all the hard work that you've put in for 6 months is wasted. Okay, so don't do that mistake. Make the arrangements in advance. Second, about when the actual exam starts. So on the actual exams, the OMR sheet is given, it's placed inside the question paper. So you're required to tear that off. Okay. So all the instructions would be carefully provided. There's typically also one carbon copy. You're not expected to separate the carbon copy from the main OMR sheet, right? So the proctors will provide you with the instructions. Listen to them carefully and do it. Don't just you know pluck out or remove random stuff from the question paper. Be careful there. I've heard of incidences where people have done that. Okay, and that's why a warning in advance. Then you'll have to fill up some instructions at the beginning of your OMR. So be careful with that as well. Read through that part carefully and make sure you're doing it rightly. Then time management, and this is where I'm going to spend some time. So for FRM part 1, there are 100 questions. I've spoken in my one of my previous videos that we can break them down as, let's say, 50 questions, which I would say is easy, maybe about 30 which are moderate, and then 20 which could be a little challenging or difficult. Now these 20 are distractors. If you end up spending too much of time on them, then you would not be able to get those low-hanging 80 fruits which are out there. So you need to be extremely clinical with your time management. You have 4 hours, you have 25 questions each. So you try to pace it in such a way that you're doing, let's say, about 28 to 30 questions every hour, right? So be careful, keep on. You would not be allowed to take your watch inside, but typically there would be some watch placed on the wall. So keep on checking the time and make sure you're doing it, in a reasonable time period. Uh, what I would recommend is if you're solving a question, and let's say you get stuck somewhere and you realize it's taking too much of time, don't allow your ego to come in between. Just put a star mark there. and then move on to next question. And once you have finished everything, then come back and do the star marked questions. Also, I would recommend that you do your rough working on the question paper. That's allowed, there's no problem there. Then the moment you have the answer, then mark it on the OMR as well. Don't keep it for the end. I hear stories where people finish solving the paper on the question paper, and then while they're putting it in the OMR, the time gets over, right? So don't be stupid there. Just do one at a time. And finally, after the exam, and now here's what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, we don't need anything from you here. We know what to do, and of course, you should do what you do. Just one observation that really worked for me is I would write down my observations. Just take out your mobile phone and write down like a couple of lines in terms of what I could have done better, what went wrong, what happened to me, like what I'm feeling right after stepping out from the exam hall. This would be useful for you for your FRM Part 2 preparation game as well. So I hope you find this useful. Wish you all the best. You have worked hard. Keep your cool. And remember, if you find question paper difficult, let's say the paper comes to you, you find it difficult. If it's difficult for you, it's going to be difficult for everyone, and therefore the passing scores will come down. So don't panic, just be positive and keep on doing your work. All the best.